Hi, this is Gary Worden, and I'm going to talk about square courses and why we need them. If you think about it, sailboat racing is a very different animal among racing sports. For the upwind part of the race, we can't aim our boat at the mark we're going to, and instead we steer about 45 degrees off a direct line. For downwind parts of the race, the straight line to the next mark is frequently not the fastest line to the next mark. It is faster to sail angles. And for instances where we can sail a straight line to the next mark, we have to stay away from each other to avoid getting disturbed air and then slowing down. The shortest time between 2 points is seldom a straight line. Sailboat racing is as much about choosing the fastest path to the next mark as it is about raw boat speed. Because finding the right path is imperative, we want a lot of space. The bigger the playing field, the more possibilities and the more challenges. In a square course, the windward leg is directly in line with the wind direction. Also, a straight line from the mark to the start line would be perpendicular to it. In steady-state conditions, boats would sail equal distances to the mark on both tacks, regardless of where they choose to sail. A square course provides the largest possible playing field. As soon as the course starts to become skewed, the playing field gets smaller. There are fewer and fewer paths to the mark. If the first leg is a fetch, which is no tacking, the path becomes a straight line. With a large playing field, the race is replete with challenges and opportunities. There is plenty of room to sail in clear air and avoid the bad air of other boats. With a large playing field, it is likely that the wind will be different on different parts of the course. In open water, there will be fewer differences, but on the lake where we sail, there are always shifts and puffs that some boats get and others don't. Trying to figure out what is going to happen and how to take advantage of it forms the strategy for sailing the course. With variations in wind, strategy frequently is more important than boat speed. In this illustration, boats use 3 different strategies. The blue boats on the left are heading for more wind on the left. The green boats don't want to commit too much to either side and hope to stay in the middle to be able to take advantage of whatever develops. The red boats on the right are convinced that a wind shift will lift them to the mark on starboard tack. A square course allows more space for tactical interactions between boats. And when most boats are sailing in clear air for the entire leg, the race is far more likely to be close at the marks, especially the first one. When the course is square, the race is challenging, competitive, fun, and exciting at all times. But when the course is skewed, all kinds of bad things happen. Clear air can be hard to find as boats are forced to sail on a narrower course. Typically, a start on a skewed course will give the boat on the windward side of others a tremendous oversized advantage. Boats on the leeward side can find it impossible to get clear air and will fall behind very quickly. When the playing field is narrow, there is nowhere to go to make a comeback. On a narrow course, all boats will see the same wind. Upwind, the boats in front will get wind before the others and open up or extend the lead. Tactics won't matter much as the boats will all be sailing in the same direction most of the time. The nature of the course tends to spread out the fleet, rewarding those in front and punishing those who are trailing. The race becomes uncompetitive very quickly. The result is that the race becomes a parade. Downwind, the situation gets even worse. The downwind course is always much narrower than the upwind course, but it is not usually and shouldn't be a straight line. Most boats find that sailing angles is faster than sailing straight downwind. Figuring out the correct angle in given condition is part of the challenge. So is finding the puffs and shifts on a smaller field. When the course is not square, downwind legs become a straight line. There isn't much the sailors can do to improve their position in the race. Again, it's a parade. We usually think about having a square course in terms of what happens going upwind. A relatively modest air like 15 degrees on a shifty lake is not very good for the upwind leg, but it completely ruins the downwind leg. So the goal of a square course is very clear. But in real-world conditions of shifting wind, how much air can we tolerate? The course should certainly be almost perfect when anchors are dropped and marks are set. If not, move things. Between that point and the start, things can happen. You can't chase the shifts forever, and tolerating up to a 15-degree air is usually acceptable for club racing. In a major regatta, 5 degrees is a more reasonable limit. Once a race is started, the first leg should not turn into our example of a skewed course. If this happens, abandon the race, fix the course, and restart. Better to spend some time resetting than waste time on a parade. Don't be afraid to abandon the race when you can set up a better one. If after a relatively square first leg a big shift makes the course skewed, it usually continues. The race management team should try to change the course to re-square it if time permits. Use the proper procedures for a change of course. I will discuss these procedures in a later video. In some major championships, a major wind shift at any time during the race can result in an abandonment. That's all for now, folks. Thanks for listening.